My aunt sued her own family, so I sued her sanity. My Aunt Margaret is the kind of person who threatens to sue the grocery store when bananas ripen too fast, who actually did sue her mailman for emotional distress because he delivered her bills on Monday instead of Tuesday, and who keeps a lawyer on speed dial like other people keep pizza places. It started when she sued our 82-year-old grandmother for elder abuse because grandma gave her antique pearl necklace to my cousin Teresa instead of Margaret, claiming emotional trauma worth $50,000. She even filed a discrimination lawsuit against my stepsister's college when they refused to change his C+ to an A after she complained about the professor's grading methods, claiming educational malpractice. Her lawyer was her bed warmer and used every underhanded tactic, including dumping stacks of paperwork on the people they were suing, which is why they actually won some of these cases. Margaret also tried to sue our church for religious persecution when the pastor asked her to stop threatening other parishioners with lawsuits during Sunday service. She actually sued the local coffee shop for false imprisonment when they asked her to wait 5 minutes for a fresh pot of coffee. The escalation reached its peak when she sued her own sister, my mother, for conspiracy to commit emotional harm for planning our grandfather's funeral without consulting Margaret on every detail. She racked up nearly $20,000 in 7 years from simply suing people and winning because they were unprepared to fight an insane psychopath. My breaking point came during last Christmas when Margaret filed a defamation lawsuit against me personally after I told relatives at dinner that her lawsuit against grandma was completely ridiculous and embarrassing for the whole family. Her new lawsuit was utterly baseless, claiming I damaged her reputation, but it still cost me $4,000 in legal fees just to get it dismissed. Margaret smugly informed other family members that she'd sue anyone else who dared to criticize her legal choices, and that she was just using me as an example. The absolute audacity of weaponizing the court system against her own nephew for expressing an opinion at a family dinner was the moment I realized she needed to be stopped permanently. I wanted payback, and for her to regret everything she had done. So I decided I'd use the very legal system she'd been abusing for years. I spent weeks researching vexatious litigant laws and discovered that courts could declare serial lawsuit abusers as vexatious litigants, requiring them to get permission before filing any future lawsuits. I systematically documented every frivolous case Margaret had filed over the past decade, gathering court records, dismissed cases, and evidence of her pattern of legal harassment. When I had everything set up, I hired a lawyer that specialized in dealing with annoying people like her and started my payback. I walked into the courthouse and filed a motion to declare Margaret a vexatious litigant using all the evidence I had. I even had letters from her own lawyers firing her for being impossible to work with. I told the judge that Margaret treated the court system like a personal complaint department and asked him to cut off her access to it. Margaret's reaction was pure gold. She immediately tried to sue me for attacking her character, proving my point even further. At the hearing, Margaret showed up in a wrinkled pantsuit, representing herself because no lawyer would touch her anymore. She stood at the podium for 30 minutes, voice getting shriller by the minute, jabbing her finger at me and screaming about conspiracies. Your Honor, this is all a setup. They're trying to silence me because I exposed the truth. I have constitutional rights. The judge just sat there in disbelief. When he finally ruled that she would now need permission before filing any more lawsuits, Margaret's mouth fell open like a broken puppet. Her hands started shaking as she processed what he just said, and that's when she snapped. She pointed at the judge and screamed, "I'll sue you for this. This is judicial misconduct. You're violating my constitutional rights." The bailiff was already moving toward her as the judge calmly said, "Ma'am, you're in contempt of court." They handcuffed her right there while she screamed about discrimination and corruption. The next morning, Margaret marched back into the courthouse like nothing had happened, trying to file 3 separate lawsuits. One against me, one against the court clerk who'd witnessed her meltdown, and one against the bailiff who'd arrested her. The clerk just smiled and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but you need judicial approval to file any paperwork." Margaret's face turned purple. She started screaming about her rights again, but security guards escorted her out. Of course, she even tried to threaten the guards with lawsuits, but her threats were empty now. I had finally done it. I ruined Margaret's sanity with the same method she used to harass people. She was actually admitted into a mental hospital for a couple years after her final meltdown, and since then, I never heard from her.